I'm Raihanatul Jannat, from a doctoral researcher at the University of Eastern Finland. Today, I will be presenting a part of my PhD, so it's a working paper, and I'm focusing on the relationship between gender-based adaptation and socioeconomic resilience under the transnational climate regime. So I'm basically more in line with the climate guys who just presented. They're all bits in here. Firstly, I want to say this is a very important issue because, as we know, climate change is non-discriminatory, so it affects everyone. However, some groups are more vulnerable than others, and rural women are, as a group, are more vulnerable than rural men, for example, due to their lesser socioeconomic and political standings. However, these vulnerabilities, again, differ according to region or social. For instance, in Bangladesh, climate change directly does affect a rural women's food and livelihood insecurities, and it does exacerbate their existing social injustices. On the other hand, another part of my research, which focuses on the Finnish Arctic, economic transformation of the Arctic, accelerated by climate change, now has given rise to a biased focus on male-dominated economic sectors, and this has triggered inadequate gender responsiveness in the Finnish Arctic. However, at the same time, rural women can also play a very key role in adaptation because of their activities at the household and community levels, and through enhancing their resilience, rural women can actively participate, plan, and implement effective adaptation to climate change. And effective adaptation measures that can address climate impacts of rural women require integration of gender equality at all levels. And this is where law comes into play, because law can make use of its, for instance, multi-level structure and establish linkages between relevant factors and fill in the governance gap. So with that in mind, firstly, I wanted to just bring through what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, has defined adaptation as, just as a process of adjustment to actual or expected climate and its effects. And the effectiveness of adaptation strategies in a social system rely on the community's adaptive capacity and its acute level of vulnerability, and strengthening its resilience of social and ecological system is classified as an essential goal of planned adaptation. Oops, sorry, I totally forgot to do that. My bad, sorry. Yeah, so we are here at the, right, okay. So in general, adaptation actions can reduce vulnerability and increase resilience to current and projected climate risks at the national, regional, and community levels. And gender-based adaptation, for instance, can integrate gender-sensitive approaches and tools for understanding and assessing impacts, vulnerability, and adaptation to climate change, and thereby, in turn, enhancing climate resilience. So, as such, my research is reviewing on gender considerations within existing climate frameworks at the international, supranational, and regional level. So first, we look into the gender considerations at the international climate regime, which is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The gender issues within the UNFCCC has been integrated in recent years, and the UNFCCC has also emphasized on the importance of taking gender into account into all sorts of climate action and policies. There are several mentions of gender equality, for instance, in the Paris Agreement, in the preamble, and several other articles, such as Article 7, which focuses specifically on adaptation, and Article 11, which focuses on on capacity. And all of these clauses acknowledges and reiterates the role of effective participation of gender and the need to kind of ender the skills to both men and women. Then the Catalyst Climate Package, which was developed in 2018, also makes some reference to gender responsiveness, and most importantly, emphasis on the need to provide responsive adaptation action under the UNFCCC's adaptation communication. And the National Adaptation Plan process that is within the UNFCCC, where the parties have to produce, is also a critical tool because it provides the parties an opportunity to connect gender equality and climate change and identify the specific needs of that country, and also develop and implement strategies and programs that are gender sensitive and participatory specifically for that region. Also, the UNFCCC's Enhanced Lima Work Program on Gender and its Gender Action Plan focuses on capacity building efforts and in mainstreaming gender in national climate policies and adaptation plans. And next, we look into gender considerations within the EU climate policy, which is relevant to my research because of my one of my case studies on the Finnish Arctic. So the EU, along with all its member states, is also a party to an UNFCCC and has commitments under the Paris Agreement. And it also plays a key role in trying to reach agreement on global climate targets. In the EU, the 8th EU Environmental Action Programme, it's a strategic instrument that will be guiding EU environmental policy, and the 8th one is to be adopted in 2021. It doesn't specifically mention any gender issues as such. However, the European Parliament's resolution in January 2018, it does acknowledge the possibility of tackling the weaker socio-economic position of women and therefore strengthening their resilience to climate change. It is very important because this resolution also maintains that women can only be empowered in rural areas. The empowerment of rural women is critical because it has a connection to access to land and sustainable farming methods, and that can also build climate resilience. The EU also has a number of other activities that, for instance, support socio-economic development and cooperation in the Arctic regions while maintaining environmental regulations. But in general, the EU's efforts to address gender equality and climate change has been criticized to be parallel to each other, whereas for it to be more effective, it should be combined into an integrated approach. And it has also been criticized that a gender-responsive outlook is not exercised into all aspects and all stages of EU climate governance and decision-making. In my research, we also look into oops, sorry, I keep on forgetting to use the slides. Also look into gender considerations within the Arctic Council's guiding principle. Just wanted to make a point that at the region level, climate action in the Finnish Arctic is supported by the Arctic Council, and the Arctic Council is an intergovernmental forum for Arctic cooperation, but it does have a strong focus on environmental protection. Now the Arctic Council published the Arctic Resilience Action Framework in 2016, and that provides several guiding principles to increase the overall adaptive capacity of Arctic communities, and it suggests in building upon existing global, regional, and national frameworks that can empower the Arctic communities. And also it states that effective climate adaptation measures can help build resilience, and actions fostering resilience can build the capacity to adapt. However, all of this requires a gender balance and gender responsive approach. And the Arctic Council Sustainable Development Working Group also contributes to climate resilience in the Arctic by promoting projects such as the Arctic Council's Gender Equality in the Arctic Project, which recognizes all sorts of gender-based factors that negatively affect the climate resilience of Arctic communities. And lastly, look into a gendered approach on climate resilience and other international instruments. So for instance, the Sustainable Development Goals, it also promotes mechanism that focuses on women and other marginalized communities and establishes an integral linkage between the economic, social, and environmental developments and opportunities to build climate resilience. And the UN Climate resilience initiative, for instance, are also engaging in partnerships to promote a common ground for climate resilience, while encouraging a gender-sensitive knowledge and innovation to support decisions for climate resilience. So in conclusion, as I said in the beginning, this is a working paper. So for now, what has come up is that, of course, there's no set, just like adaptation policies, there's no set definition of socioeconomic resilience, and factors that affect socioeconomic resilience of rural women vary on regional, geographical, and socio-cultural factors. However, in general, the gender-based adaptation framework, strategies, and policies at the international, supranational, and regional level all seek to uphold and strengthen resilience of the target groups on paper. However, whether these framework strategies and policies enhance the socioeconomic resilience of rural women and women in general in practice is something that needs to be determined still. I'm really sorry, I realize I keep on forgetting changing my slides, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. So thank you so much for your time.